Well, I think we made some real bad mistakes in the past. Some people didn't believe that the voting system even works, so they didn't vote. And we know that any shot you don't take, you don't make. And so we've really reversed our course. We've gotten people motivated. When I went to the polls recently, I saw a huge line in a conservative district. People were absolutely motivated. This is in North Fulton. And everybody in line seemed to be voting for Trump and talking about it openly, very proud of it. This is in a reversal in the way that it used to be about 4 years ago, where people were demotivated and right at the middle of COVID era. And you see everything's, the momentum's in the right spot for us. I think we're going to take Georgia in a big way. I don't think Bruce Springsteen or anybody else is going to reverse that. As a matter of fact, I think if you think about his most famous song, Born in the USA, that irony is going to carry over right here in Georgia when we talk about our open borders and everything else that's wrong in Georgia and across the United States.
Yeah. You know, what Republicans might be thinking about, or those early banked votes, is so different than the argument we're hearing from Vice President Kamala Harris. And it was last night on CNN where she described Donald Trump as a fascist, saying he's unstable, increasingly unstable, unfit to serve, and going on to cite, you know, troubles within his prior administration about disgruntled employees. I mean, to say the least there. But how strong is that argument, and what could be said against it?
You want to talk about employees, you want to talk about bureaucracy, you want to talk about government overreach. Look no further than this administration, who's lost several cases at the Supreme Court level. When you talk about Chevron, you talk about other cases where bureaucracies have overreached and harassed businesses to the point where you can actually put them out of business through taxation, through regulation, through fines, literally making up their own laws. We've spent about half of our time in Congress making laws to counteract what bureaucracies are doing with massive overreach. They're the ones that use government as a weapon. They're the ones that go after you with the DOJ. They're the ones that use the FBI to investigate their enemies. They're the ones that really believe in the power of government. The conservative typically wants to get the government out of the way. As Reagan says, it's at best a necessary evil. And they understand that just the opposite. They think that the government is used to their benefit. They use it to buy votes. They use tax dollars to buy votes. And they use tax dollars to support people who invade our country rather than people who are really going through some hard times due to hurricanes.
Yeah, great point. You mentioned government power. I wanted to get to that because at that rally, which, by the way, you saw Jason Aldean and so many others out there supporting the former president in the state of Georgia. But he went after the former president, went after Biden and Harris, that administration, over its electric vehicle mandates, promised to toss them if reelected. We have that moment. Watch this.
And on day one of the Trump administration, I will terminate Kamala's insane electric vehicle mandate, and we will end the Green New scam once and for all. Once and for all.
And that's something we wanted to touch on you with in terms of the government telling what you can and cannot do, what you can drive, what you cannot drive, right? There are certain mandates that are ready to go to say, hey, you've got to be an electric vehicle by this certain year. Electric vehicles are pretty neat if you've been inside of one. I remember even when the hybrids came out, and the Prius, I think, was one of the first on the scene. They were exciting, kind of a new wave. I love tech myself. But many voters say, hey, they are cool. And the Teslas, just as an example, really neat cars. But the government telling me that I can no longer drive my pickup truck because it runs on gasoline. I've got to drive this type of car. Does that turn off voters?
100%. We're Americans. We like choices. We love freedom.